Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Voices FCIAC Football Fast 5. Everything you need to know about Fairfield County High School football, all in about 5 minutes. I'm Eric Gendron. With me once again is former Stanford High School head football coach and agent for JL Sports, Kevin Jones. Kevin, great to have you back.
It's always good to be here.
We had a controversy and a comeback this past week. Let's recap Week 6 right now. New Canaan barely survives St. Joe's, but the win all but clinches a 7th straight trip to the state tournament for the Rams with a pretty easy schedule for the rest of the way for New Canaan. However, Kevin, what was St. Joe's able to expose on the Rams in the near loss?
Well, I think the big thing that got exposed really is that you better play 4 quarters if you're going to beat New Canaan. Like almost every high school team, if you give your quarterback enough time, you can complete big plays against the team's secondary. New Canaan is no different. They gave up some big plays in that secondary on Saturday against St. Joe's. But here's the problem. Not everybody can throw the ball like St. Joe's. And when Vazano got banged up at the end of the 3rd quarter going into the 4th, St. Joe's was not the same team. In fact, they had 2 drives in the last 5 minutes of the game that were in New Canaan territory, came up with no points, and they had a wide open pass down the sideline that they couldn't complete that would have been the go-ahead touchdown. So the big thing to take away from this game is if you're going to play New Canaan, you better be healthy for 4 quarters and stay in that game for the entire duration of the game.
All right, Stanford's nightmare season continues with a demoralizing 51-0 loss at the hands of Norwich Free Academy. The Black Knights head coach, Brian Hochter, was none too happy with NFA's head coach, his handling of the game. Kevin, what do you make of Hochter's reaction, and what's your opinion of the infamous score management 50-point rule that we have in the CIAC?
Well, listen, every coach is entitled to react any way he wants. And I don't disagree with Coach Hochter in this case. I don't like the rule, per se. I didn't like it when they passed it. I think you should play the game the way it's intended to be played. And, you know, what's worse, losing by 50 or having a team take a knee with 8 minutes left in the game? You know, that's kind of demoralizing, too. However, I understand why we have the rule. If you're a coach, an adult, you need to respect the integrity of the game. But not every coach does, and so that's why the rule's in place. The biggest issue here is probably the indifference or even the defiance of the opposing head coach in the newspaper afterwards, saying he'd be more than happy to take the suspension for what happened. And guess what? NFA agreed with him, and they suspended him on their own. They didn't even wait for the CIAC ruling.
All right, we've passed the halfway point of the season. More than half of the teams in the conference are out of the state playoff race now, which means teams are going to have to play spoiler for the rest of the way. So, Kevin, which teams can play spoilers for teams that are still in the playoff hunt?
Well, I look at, there's 3 teams that I think can really play spoilers down the stretch of the season. Number 1 has got to be Darien. They're 4-2, and they're number 10 in Class L, so they still have a lot to play for, but they have 3 playoff teams remaining on their schedule with Staples, Trinity, and New Canaan. Beating any one of them is going to interrupt the playoff chances for those teams, but for Darien, it's their playoff, they're playing for their playoff lives. Wilton at 3-3 is not going to go to the playoffs, but they still have New Canaan and Trinity Catholic on their schedule. Certainly can play spoilers in those games, and don't forget they play West Hill, and they could play a big role in spoiling West Hill's winning season. St. Joe's, number 10 in Class M, they have 3 winnable games on the schedule, plus a big game against Trinity Catholic. They win that game, and that could be the difference.
I'm sensing a theme here.
There is a theme, and that's all 3 of those guys play Trinity Catholic. So buckle up, Crusaders, all right? You got a wild ride to the finish.
All right, we talked about it a few weeks ago, and it has come to pass. The West Hill Greenwich game will have some playoff significance. West Hill hasn't had the best history with Greenwich in recent years, well, more than just recent years, but the Vikings do have a legitimate shot of their first winning season in 29 years. Kevin, how close of a game can West Hill keep this contest to consider it a moral victory?
Well, you listen, history's not on West Hill's side in this game. The last 10 years, it's really been, a lot on the Greenwich side and a little on the West Hill side, but I don't believe much in moral victories. You either win or you lose, and the margin of defeat or the margin of victory doesn't really matter. I think Coach Marcuccio would agree with me. So it's no secret the odds are not in West Hill's favor in this game, but if you're not playing to win, if you're just trying to keep it close, your guys are going to get hurt. And if you're going to have a winning season, West Hill, you got to keep your guys healthy through this game. So I fully expect Coach Marcuccio and the Vikings to go into this game with a plan to win, and they're going to play for that W.
All right, and that'll bring us to our Daily Voice Game of the Week this Saturday, 1:30 p.m., Staples at Darien. For the 2nd year in a row, this is the game we've been waiting for. But Staples has just been playing in another league from everybody else in this league this season. And combined with all of Darien's injuries, do they have any shot to slow down the unstoppable, seemingly unstoppable force that is Staples this season?
The answer to that question is probably no. Okay, but on paper, you got the #1 scoring offense. Staples is averaging only 52 points a game. Okay, but you have the #5 scoring defense. Darien's pretty good. They only give up 19 points a game. So on paper, it looks like it might be a good matchup. But I think on actual turf, it's not going to be that close. I think the secondary at Darien has had its issues in their 2 losses, and I think they're going to be really challenged this week because they're going to need to get involved in the run game, because of the style of offense that Staples runs. And once you start getting safeties involved in the run game, it's going to put one-on-one matchups downfield. If Staples can take advantage of those one-on-one matchups when they occur, they're going to score points in bunches. And I like Staples going away in this one.
All right, that'll do it for another week of Fairfield County High School football. We'll see how that Staples-Darien game turns out. Until next time, I'm Eric Gendron.